recently we redid the insulation in our attic. A lot of interesting stuff found up there. Not really things, but some of the old insulation was done with old newspapers, magazines, wood chips, that kind of thing. So I found a lot of interesting older magazines from the 30s and 40s. For example, this gem was staring out at me from a beam. Actually, this is the face I saw, just popping up. Hey, all of these faces are kind of freaky, but yeah, it's a lot of older stuff. And looking at the older magazines, a lot of them are very interesting, so I wanted to share some of them. Example, this is a 1938 issue of Chatelaine, which is still a good magazine today. But here's, for example, a quiz. How good looking are you? I'm curious to find out. I'm actually gonna take that later, but look at all this old art in here. That's a neat a neat piece. One thing I found that was very interesting was some of this was back during the war, so they had kind of like ration recipes, so you could still have a good meal while cooking with rations. So we got here a recipe for vegetable pie with a peanut butter crust, which darn, too much protein in peanut butter, but I offered to make it for JR. He said, no way, it sounds disgusting. So let's see what's in here. Butter, flour, salt, celery, paprika, milk, small white onions, peas, string beans or lima beans, and carrots for the vegetable portion. And then the peanut butter crust is flour, baking powder, salt, peanut butter, milk, and raw fat bacon. So it's an interesting recipe. If anyone wants to try it, let me know. Another thing I found interesting, now I'm not sure what Spry is, but there was this ad for well, it ripped in half, but it was a cake made of Spry, grape flavored cake. No idea what Spry is. Sounds very interesting. Grape cake sounds good too. I've never had a grape cake. Now, I've also noticed a lot of the ads in these old newspapers and magazines contain cartoons, which is neat. What else do we have here? Another Chatelaine from 1941. The cover's missing off of it. Some of these were pulled out hard or ripped, so it's a little harder to keep them all together. But I think it's interesting to see how much of these magazines were ads. Look at these 2 pages. Only the middle strip and half of this middle strip was the actual articles. The rest was ads. Very interesting to see. Now, I don't know if I've heard of this magazine. It's also from 41. It's National Home Monthly. But it looks to be a lot of different photography stuff. I'm not sure. I've honestly never heard of this magazine until now. But a lot of it seems to be stories as well, which is neat. 1942 Chatelaine. Wonder if there's another quiz in there once we see how good looking we are. See what else. The thing I like about these old newspapers and magazines is there's a lot of recipes in them. Not always stuff I would try, but I mean, this I might. All bran nut muffins. I like bran muffins. I don't know if I would add nuts. Here's a Canadian magazine. Very cool. Oh, it's quite neat. An article on fear. There was a few of these in the attic. I mean, obviously it's quite thick, makes for good insulation, but if you check it out here, the 1942 catalog from Eaton. Now, is that old or what? I mean, look at this. These beautiful outfits you can get for $5. I mean, I wouldn't read through the whole catalog, but it's cool to see the older fashions. In fact, a lot of, like I was saying before, cartoons. Ugh. Imagine getting your clothes from a cartoon drawing of it. That's kind of cool. This I just thought was neat, a Fox and Fur magazine, where it shows in black and white, though, how to tell if your foxes are healthy for fur. But I'm not sure. A black and white article is a good diagram for that. Might be easier in color, but you know, the times. It says here it's June 1941, so get what you get, right? And the last thing I found that I thought was really cute, I recall my grandma having something like this, maybe not the same one, but similar style with the drawings and the learning. My grandma would have loved all of this. She was big into genealogy, you know, looking in the past, old things like this. She would have loved all of these magazines and treasures I found. Well, thanks for taking a walk down memory lane with me. Not really my memories, but somebody's. It's really neat to look at old things like that sometimes, I think.